This keeps getting better as the San Jose Sharks' future is brighter every single day, with new prospects emerging, making a case to one day be a full-time San Jose Shark. You're not going to want to miss this update on this episode of Sharks Digest. But before we get into it, we got to say that 91% of you guys watching this video right now aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up on the latest Sharks news, rumors, trades, prospect updates, make sure down below and hit that subscribe button. But yes, you said it right. The future is teal. We see the comments on these videos, and it's looking this season that the San Jose Sharks are probably going to be fighting for that draft lottery spot. But on the bright side, we have a lot of prospects within the system and some new ones coming onto the scene that are emerging into great talents. And the first guy I want to bring up today is Gabriel Cariere. This guy is a goalie who they signed out of the University of Vermont in the NCAA and has been showing out, as we see from Sheng Peng here. Great follow on Twitter if you're a Sharks fan. He says, has San Jose Sharks Scott Fitzgerald found another gem? He says, Cariere has had an excellent first pro season with the Wichita Thunder and the San Jose Barracuda. He also goes on to say in this article that last April, the San Jose Barracuda inked Cariere from the University of Vermont on an amateur tryout, and both Barracuda head coach John McCarthy and an NHL scout were impressed by his play, saying that he had Ryan Miller watch him as well, and he seems to be a great workhorse, and his competition level is next level, and it's great to hear this. He says he thrives in pressure, like coming back in games. And Fitzgerald, as we all know, Mike Grier has credited him with finding great talents like Anthony Vincent, Lucas Van Roboys, and Donovan Houlet, all solid CUDA contributors this season. So obviously we're seeing Fitzgerald picking up some great talent here, so he's just picking out another one here in Cariere. If you're interested on his stats, he is a 6'2 goalie, a little bit smaller, but it's not small enough to where it will be, affecting the status of this goalie, because he is so good. I mean, like I said, he's coming out of the University of Vermont. We're in 34 games. He had a .906 save percentage. He had a losing record, but the University of Vermont is probably on the lower scale of universities in the NCAA. Still a great program there, no doubt about it. He just put up a .906 on a losing team, so that's great to hear. One game last year, he had an .818, but now this season with the Barracuda in the AHL, he had an .896 on a 3-1 record, which 3 wins, one loss on an .896. You take that 100% of the time. As long as you're winning, it doesn't really matter about the save percentage. But the thing is, with the Wichita Thunder, that's the Newfoundland coming out of me. With the Wichita Thunder, he's had a .922 save percentage in the ECHL, dominating with a 14-9-2 record. And a lot of goalies in the Shark system get shadowed by Yaroslav Askarov, because obviously we all know how great of a talent that he is. But when you're talking about other guys here like Gabriel Cariere, who are putting up great numbers in the ECHL, we have seen a lot of goalies start in the ECHL and graduate to the AHL and eventually to the ECHL. It's kind of the development path for goalies these days, and seeing him dominate early on here is great. So what needs to happen for Cariere to get to the next level, to get to a potential start with the Sharks at some point? I think what needs to happen is we're going to see Vitek Vanacek or Georgiev leave this offseason. Potentially both, because obviously we have Yaroslav Askarov waiting in the wings to become that starter for this Sharks team. So once he moves up to the NHL, Cariere will move up to the AHL, and it'll just keep going on and on, building all the way up for the goalies. It's because once he graduates to the NHL, that gives time for Cariere here to get some decent time with the Barracuda, and then we will really see if he has that NHL caliber in him. I think he does, just with how good he's playing and how good he is at winning games, and hearing quotes from the GM of the Barracuda saying, hey, this guy's a workhorse, he thrives in a competitive environment, and that's what you want out of a goaltender. I really like this guy. I've watched some highlights on him today before recording this video. I think he has a lot to prove here and a lot to show to hockey fans in general, and I think this guy, once we get to see him a little bit more in a Sharks jersey, maybe in this preseason, I think a lot of you guys will fall in love with him. So stay out on the lookout for Gabriel Cariere. But the next guy we want to talk about is one we've seen with the Sharks this year, and that is Colin Graf. He has been having a low-key banger of a season for the Barracudas. If we just take a look at his usage rate, this is the whole time on ice average for the entire forwards of the Barracuda. Colin Graf is at the top, averaging 20 minutes, 9 seconds time on ice in 33 games for this team this season, and doing a great job at that, I might add. I mean, if we look at his stats so far with the Barracuda, in 33 games, he has 30 points, almost a point per game player in the AHL, 8 goals, 22 assists. I mean, we all know what Colin Graf can do. We've seen him obviously 13 times here in the NHL, where he's still trying to find his footing this season. He had 3 points, which you take that if you're Colin Graf. And if we see the projected numbers here, he's projected to have 55 points in 60 games at the end of the season for the Barracuda. But I think he will end up higher with that, because I think his rate is going to only pick up, because this team is going to be pushing to win that Calder Memorial Trophy in the AHL this season. And I think Colin Graf is an incredible playmaker that this team is going to love to have. We already have so many great skilled young forwards in Eklund and Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith and all these guys, and Colin Graf is another one of those guys who doesn't maybe have the biggest name like a Will Smith or Macklin Celebrini, but he will get there. I think this guy is a tremendously skilled player that a lot of people are overlooking. I mean, if we just take a look at what the head coach of the Barracuda, John McCarthy, had to say on Colin Graf, he says he does a lot of right things as far as loose puck recoveries. He tracks those identities areas that we talk about. It's not always about, although he does have a good amount of points don't get you called up. It's the substance of your game, and he really does a lot of those things really, really well, and that is what you want to hear if you are a Sharks fans, because like he said, you could go out, maybe have a 70-point season in the AHL, but that's not always going to get you called up. It's doing the things that we don't see on the stat sheet that gets you called up, getting into those areas, winning those board battles, just becoming a full, complete package in a player. And that's why he got called up the first time, and that's why he's having such great success for this Barracuda team. When we hear about the head coach talk so highly of him, obviously he has the point production. That is a very upside for Colin Graf, but he also does the nitty-gritty things that John McCarthy loves out of a player, and I'm sure Ryan Warsofsky loves out of a player too. So I think when we go into next season here, I think we will see Colin Graf up as a full-time Shark, because if we just look at this lineup right now, obviously there's going to be a lot of change here. We got some expiring guys, we got some older guys here, but we see here we got, like, he can play center and he can also play right wing, so we could potentially see him in the center role, but I do expect him to see him here maybe in this bottom 6 on the right wing side, maybe in a Colin or a Dewar spot there. I could definitely see that. We could even see him in this top 6, because I think Smith, Zetterlund, and Graf could be a very, very good line for this Sharks team, but it will be interesting to see where he is placed, because it is great to see how good of a playmaker he has become at such a young age for him, and I think the sky is the limit for this team. The sky is the limit for this player, and I think he will have the upside to potentially be a top 6 forward for this San Jose Sharks team in the future, and I can't wait to see it. The future is teal. There's a lot of Sharks prospects right now on fire and making their case to make this team, and if you're a Sharks fan right now, look forward to the preseason, look forward to training camp, because that is when we are really going to get to see Who is going to make this team? Is Sam Dickinson going to come over? Is Quentin Musty going to come over? Is Colin Graf going to graduate from the AHL to a full-time NHLer? These are when we're going to get our questions answered, and we're also going to get to see whoever our hopefully future first overall draft pick will be. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts on Cariere and Graf down below in the comment section. Let us know down below. We're on the Four Nations break right now. We're trying to find some videos for you guys since we have no representatives in the Four Nations. Let us know any video ideas, stuff you want us to talk about down below in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you guys. But if you enjoyed this one, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, and we're trying to hit that before the end of the Four Nations. So if you're a big fan, make sure down below hit that subscribe button. But as always, I've been your host, KC. Keep your stick on the ice.